I'm going to speak to the the contractor committee. I work for Elliston Construction. PCL, Dan Newfleece from PCL is also on the board of directors for CanBIM, and we're working to pull in all the general contractors in Canada, as many as we can, to participate in a contractor committee. We had a startup meeting about a month ago. Canadian and Acon are obviously interested in joining the group as well, so we want to expand that and help to get contractors from the Quebec area involved with the General Contractor Committee. I think there might be somebody from Broccolini here, so if you're here, come see me after. And in S&C, of course, I'd love to talk to you. So obviously with general contractors, from a general contractor's perspective, there's a lot of common issues that we're dealing with. One of the challenges that we have is that we're going out to subcontractors and actually asking for models to be produced, and we're doing that with documentation and whatnot that we've developed internally. And obviously, it would be better for the industry if that type of documentation and those sorts of requirements were standardized across the industry. So that's one of the things that came out of this initial meeting that we had. Obviously, we want standardization with what we're asking for, and we also need the sub-trade committee to exist to counterbalance what we're asking for and making sure that A, it's achievable with the level that the industry's at right now, and B, that it's reasonable and it's cost effective for them. The goal of BIM obviously is to do things as efficiently as possible. We want to provide the most value possible to our owners when we go to build a building, and in order to do that, we want the best price possible from the subtrades. So we want to work with them to establish the level of detail and the procedure and whatnot, and work backwards from what's happening in the field, and establish a process that makes sense for the skilled trades in the field. So that's kind of the gist of what the general contractor subcommittee is going to be about. It's also about advocacy and working with the education committee to ensure that the grads coming out of school in Canada know how the process is going to be used in the industry, so that they have the tools and skills and whatnot, and know how to join the industry at the various levels. And there's also there's a need to integrate BIM with estimating. We see this in a lot of the P3 work that we do within Elliston. I'm sure that you experience the need for that as well. We want to use models to control costs. We want to use models to control what's happening in the field. And there's a lot of R&D that's required. There's a lot of software out there. So the committee that we're trying to form is going to try to look at all that software and try to produce guidelines and assessment reports and whatnot for the general contractors in our membership to use. Also, there's a lot of trends in contracting in general. New types of contracts are emerging. The IPD, integrated project delivery approach, is something that is being talked about a lot in Canada. There's a few examples of it being used. It's something that I think we have to review and actually develop a bit of a resource center around, so that people can have somewhere to draw on to get knowledge on how to use these new types of contracts and implement them, and also just educate people on what they are and how they work, so that when owners specify these types of contracts, that there's a place for them to draw on. And obviously we're doing this in part with the CCA, and we're planning to work with them as intimately as we can, so that we're all working on the same page towards the same goals. Other things that we talked about at that meeting was the concept of using RFID tags for tagging information and tracking material that arrives on job sites. There's quite a bit of R&D required in that area as well. So these are some of the ideas that we kind of threw around at the subcommittee, and that's kind of the basis for the subcommittee being formed. I think the first thing we're going to do in fiscal 2013 is put together a needs assessment and try to create some very specific goals around getting this committee to be effective and produce the right documentation in a timely way for this year. And then next year, obviously, we'll build on that. So we want to keep it organized. So.